Welcome to the QBO Smart Worklist tutorial. In many QBO systems, users start their day by looking at their work list. So, what is a work list? In short, work lists are used to assign people to do work in QBO. The most popular kind of work list is a task-based work list. Each time a task is created, a corresponding work list item is also created. However, tasks are not necessarily synonymous with work lists. Some tasks are touched by more than one user, akin to a paper form being passed between people for review and approval. In QBO, this is called status routing, and it results in more than one work list item being created per task. In other instances, work lists can be created that have nothing to do with tasks. For example, one might wish to audit 5% of all loans matching some high-risk criteria, or review all users that have not logged in the last 30 days, or perhaps contact vendors that have contracts expiring soon. Each of these could be set up as a work list without any underlying tasks existing. However, in this tutorial, we're going to focus on the most popular task-based work lists. Let's create a new task called Loan Review. We'll bind it to a loan. Within the task, we'll add a simple question. The question will be loan reviewed, and we'll make it a checkbox. Let's make it a required field, and we'll click Save. Once created, we can add this task manually to a loan, or make it part of a workflow, or import them in bulk. For now, let's just go add one manually to a loan. Here is my field. I'm not going to bother doing much with it. I will indicate that it's due soon and save. Navigating back to our work list dashboard, now that I have at least one of these loan review tasks in the system, I see that I have a loan review work list as well. If I click on one of the buckets, I will get a detail list down below. Having only one item in a work list is very simplistic. Let's go add a few more tasks so we have a bit more data to play with. Now that we have a few tasks, let's see how a work list can help us. Firstly, managers can assign items manually. Let's assign all of the items here to a team. I will pick the collectors team from the dropdown, and I'm going to ignore which collector user I want to assign it to for now, leaving that blank. Notice that the Start button now appears for each of these items. This is true because I happen to be a member of the collectors team. If I assign one of these items to a different team of which I'm not a member, then I don't get the Start button and I'm not eligible to work on it. Notice that the attorney team is now assigned to this one work item, and I have no Start button because I'm not a member of the attorney team. The idea behind the Start button is to enable the tracking of total time the user spends on a work item. When I click Start, I'm taken to the task, which I can then complete and return to the work list. Notice that that item has dropped off the work list because our default view is to look at all pending items. I could include all items, and I see that this one was started at 12:03 and completed very quickly also at 12:03. If I refresh my top panel, notice that my pending item count has dropped from 4 to 3, and I see that I have one item in the completed count. If I click on my one completed item, there it is, If I click on my 3 pending items, there they are. If I start a task, but I don't complete it, it will be marked as skipped. I can say, I'm not going to get to this thing until Friday. I'll say blah, blah, blah in my comments, and click Save. Notice now that this item has been started at 12:05 and skipped out to 7:21. On the 21st, this will become eligible for working again. If I refresh my dashboard panel, we now see that we have 3 pending items. Only 2 are currently in the queue because 1 has been skipped. Again, once we pass the skip date, that item will be part of the queued count again, and the start button will show up again. And we still have our 1 completed item. If this item needs to be worked sooner than that, in other words, if 7:21 is too far out, managers can come in and re-queue the item. Focusing on our pending items, let's see what we can make happen automatically rather than manually. First, I'm going to unassign these items. In order to understand what we can automate, first I'm going to re-queue these items and remove their team. Here, when we re-queue items, we can choose to keep the same priority or reset it to the defaults, keep the team or go to the default, keep the person or go to the default. In this case, we will not keep the team. Now that we have some unassigned tasks to play with, let's go back and take a look at the task we created at the beginning of the tutorial. When we created the task, QBO automatically created a work list matching the task name, in this case, loan review. We can pivot over to the work list and take a look at the work list's characteristics. There's a lot of characteristics to dive into here. For the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to focus on the group of people eligible to work on an item. So from the people drop-down list, let's choose collector by default. Going back to our work list, notice we haven't manually assigned anything, but if I refresh, we'll see that the collector team is automatically assigned. That's because no manager has come in and overridden the default behavior. We just change the default behavior to assume you want to route to the collectors. Once again, I have my start button. Let's assume we want to be more granular than this and assign items directly to users instead of relying on them to click start. For this, we'll return to our worklist template and set up a team assignment matrix. I will leave it at create a matrix, click save, and a blank matrix for our assignments has been created. For this matrix, our outputs can include team, person, and priority. Right now, we're just going to focus on person. Our inputs can be any data point we want. For now, let's assume that we have state knowledgeable users, and we'll consider state in the assignment. If we don't have a state, by default, let's send this to be worked by Cindy Smith. Let's have Florida worked by me. And we can add as many of these mappings as we'd like. At this point, we configure the matrix to route all Florida work to E. Patrick, all California work to B. Forrester, and all Arizona work to G. Abbott. Any other state by default is going to go to C. Smith. Returning to our work list, we can now choose all items and come in and auto-assign them Choosing auto assign forces QBO to reevaluate a work list item and pick the team, person, or priority based on the matrix output. Here we see that C. Smith was assigned one of the loans and G. Abbott was assigned the next loan. Note that once matrix rules are set up, managers don't need to manually auto-assign anything. Auto-assigned is what it sounds like. When the work list item is created or requeued, it will automatically be evaluated and assigned accordingly based on the matrix output. At this point, consider using the next item feature. Generally, this is found in the main menu. When a user clicks on the next item command, QBO will look at all the work items the user is eligible to work, sort by team, priority, work item priority, and due date, assign the item to the user, marking it started just as if they clicked the start button, and route the user to the appropriate page. Thus, users can simply start their day by clicking next item, completing a task, being routed to their next task, so on and so forth. Some organizations love this feature. Others prefer to let their users choose which work list to work on and which times to start, which items to start. It's up to you. Let's review some of the UI that we glossed over at the beginning. Up in the summary pane, as we touched on briefly, the pending item count is a count of all the items in a queued status. Queued or started status. Queued items are eligible to be worked on. Started, somebody has already clicked start and is working them. Skipped have been delayed because of problems encountered completing the task. Completed are the number of items completed. Canceled are just what they sound like. So for some reason, a power user or manager has gone in and canceled that work. And lastly, the total column will show you all items matching that work list. Note that I can filter the list of work lists that I'm viewing and just focus on load review, or I can clear my filter and look at everything. And I can get specific. Let's take a look at loan-based work list assigned to E. Patrick. We have none. Let's clear that filter. If I pick the correct username, in this case epatrick@quantus.com, I see that there's only one item and it's already been completed. Looks like Eric's getting his work done today. We can also shift this view to look across the portfolio by team or person. So I can shift over here, clear my filter, and my collectors have 6 total items. My subprime collectors have 0 items. My HAMP evaluators have 5 items, so on and so forth. Likewise, I can pivot and look across the portfolio by person to see how much work each person has and what they've managed to complete. Back to our loan review total. The detail panel has a bunch of information for us. First, it'll have the parent label, in this case loan number, associated with the task. The name of the work list. This is useful if you're looking across a portfolio at the work list items assigned to a team or user, if they work different kinds of work lists. Status. This is currently blank everywhere because we haven't set up status routing on this task. The user, the team, priority. Note that priority can be set by a matrix, or we can come in and simply set it here. We'll make these a priority 3. And we'll make these two a priority 2. If users are using next item, our priority 2s will be dished out before our priority 3s. And of course, I can sort by priority if I'd like. Started and skip dates we've already discussed. Completed and due dates we have already covered. The due date is the date copied from the task. Completed is when the user completed the task. Our quick menu allows us to manually assign items or auto-assign items based on a matrix set of rules, cancel items, complete items. Note that complete items does not complete the underlying work. Requeue items we've touched on, set priority we just touched on, and then lastly we can cancel or restart our work list. Canceling a work list basically means none of this needs to be done anymore. This is useful if you're going to recalculate a work list afresh the next day. Restarting a work list allows you to take all of the active items or pending items out of a work list, move them into a new work list, leaving all of the completed items in your old work list. That helps you manage your counts up top. Over the course of months or years, you will find that the vast majority of your tasks are all in a completed status. That's noise, and usually we want to get rid of that noise by restarting a work list. We hope you found this tutorial useful. Please check out our status routing tutorial as well.